today when me and Mujasi having a conversation about some of the positions that you would have to be taking on the other side of this and how
Mm. You're breaking up.
impossible.
Oh, you
That's
breaking up, Logic.
yeah, well,
You breaking up. Please re-explain it. Don't
yeah,
let
we
Chef explain it. Do not let Chef say what you guys were talking about.
And nigga
Please
hit him with
restate
the.
that.
And nigga
yeah,
just
yeah.
beat shit
It's funny
immediately
to
went.
say we were talking.
Hey, Shefford slide.
How do you
Yeah,
No,
hold
he
certain
said
positions
he's slick.
and still maintain
yeah, man, like a
consistency?
fox. Like
Like
a
a
Logic,
fucking
we can't
fox.
hear you, brother. If you talking, we can't hear you.
Still,
No, we can't hear you.
First you were breaking up. Now you too low.
you
Okay,
should be
good
able to hear
now.
me now. I stepped all the way outside.
And y'all live,
Okay.
now, so be easy.
All right, so yeah, so the conversation started with me and Mujasi. I was like, some of the positions that you hold, they gotta contradict like having some kind of faith in the system, right? How do you maybe not directly, but maybe sort of allude to like some of the ways that you kind of like gauge or try to predict white people's behavior. How do you maintain some of those historical things as how you expect them to act and still have faith that your vote, that your candidate, or at times some of their bills and promises will that they'll even keep them. You get what I'm saying? So that was how we started the conversation, and he did a good job of explaining what he was saying. Hopefully he'll come back in so we can hear some more of that. But that's where we started. Is that a bit of a contradiction when you get so blackologist to where you Francis Cress Wilson? It definitely don't make no sense to vote or to use the system at all, right? Because it's so corrupt you'll never really get any headway. So you got to be somewhere in the middle in order to just like rationalize, going to work or you know what I'm saying, participating at all. So that's what the conversation started.
Can I describe the fight to you?
Mm-hmm.
You fight the same way. We was doing them shows about the brain, and one of them shows, it's like we did about maybe 12 of them, and I only took about maybe 6 things out of it that I still use. But one of them I really, really used, and it made me understand my son better. When your children turn about 12, 13 years old, they start listening to outside sources. They almost get they. I'm gonna go back and get the actual principle, but it's a brain principle where they start accepting outside sources. They start listening to people like coaches and teachers, and people at church, way more than you do. Like way more than they listen to you. They start kind of putting the same weight. It's when they start accepting mentors and things like that, right? So that's why they say you got to get your child good mentors young, outside of you, right? Because you're fallible. You get to see different people. So one of the things I understood was that's usually around the time, based on me working with children, that's usually around the time when parents start reporting that they have problems with their kids. Around 6th, 7th, 8th grade. When they start having those problems where they like call juvenile, y'all don't, I know we all perfect fathers and mothers in here, but there are some mothers in there like calling juvie saying, come get this motherfucker. So one of the things that it helped me do was it just meant I needed to fight harder for this thing that I created. I need to fight even more, or I need to find strategic ways in order to make sure I'm still in my son's life, my daughter's life, that I'm still who I need to be. And don't get jealous if he's telling me that coach such and such said, or pastor such and such said, or my friend father said. That's when you start hearing that kind of stuff. So I would say that about the same way here. We built this country. We fought for this country. But you should still have the rather than have a sense of hopelessness, you should still have the same fight that those black men had when they came home from the war and they got promised the GI Bill and didn't get it. They didn't give up. You should have the same fight that when FDR did the New Deal for the white farmer, well, it's technically for the poor in the country, but it was really made for the white rural farmers and rural poor white people. Have the same fight that to get access to that. The same fight Martin had, the same fight Malcolm had, the same fight all of them had. This is your country. This isn't, we're past all of this go back to Africa bullshit. We're as African, we're damn near as American as we are African. Some people would argue we're more American than we are African. So you fight for that same country, no matter what that country does, until you get into a position where it changes and then be the change that you want to see.
No, I get you. I get what you're saying. Let me stop you for a second, because most of, and maybe it's not us specifically in this Discord, but maybe I'm more so speaking of other conscious community conversations where we kind of do more detailing of all the promises that they broke, that they failed to keep, right? So as far as predicting a better future or better outcome, I'm only basing it on the historical events of how many times they betrayed us. So,
but you learn from history.
So when we sit here and we detail how often or how many times that they actually have done that, how do you expect them to do anything different next time? Right? Like how do you begin to where are you planting your faith in if your expectation is that they betray us?
Well, I don't know how many Christians is in here right now, but me being a Christian, I live and walk by faith. But I will also tell you this: a person who think he controls anything controls nothing. Like I don't live under the veil of that. I have a certain amount of control over my life, if that. I have a certain amount of control over my son's life, if that. So it's all the same, whether they tell the truth or whether they lie. For example, the UPS thing that I put in there. The reason why you need to detail some of these things and be aware of some of these things is because they can help you. So when UPS hired all them drivers, matter of fact, me and you had this conversation when it happened. Remember we was talking about, we was live. Remember we was talking about the UPS drivers just got the bag? And you got UPS drivers now, after UPS cut the deal, they're making $100,000 a year, just like 2-3 years ago. And on the show, I said, I own stock in that company. They are going to they're doing this now. This is more of a PR thing. I get it. There was at war with Amazon. It was at war with the United States Postal Service. And I told you live, but I would tell people, if you're an investor, rather than being so upset that they're doing this, understand that this is unsustainable and it's going to have to revert. And when it reverts, the stock price is going to surge. Well, I was wrong because I thought it would be within a year. It was within a year and a half. And they just fired 48,000 employees in UPS and literally explained it by saying it's not the greatest thing to do before the holidays, but look at the stock price and it surged. We balanced our bottom line in the fourth quarter of 2025.
Well, hey, Brad,
So,
we got the difference is so when you talk about that stuff, Chef don't believe that happened. Well, according to the conversation me and him had last night, he don't believe none of that's happening.
No, that's fine.
How do you get people who don't understand or don't agree with the reality to accept that? And Chef, I would
no.
Why you don't believe it's happening too? I bet.
So may it be. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, the day ends. You go invest. You keep being an example. You keep being a beacon. You teach through your success. I can show you how much I made, right? But even if I did that, then it would just be the rich blood bullshit. So Chef could say it didn't happen, and I'm just glad that it did. And then we could just stay where we at until eventually he would see it. But if Chef had that, he wouldn't be saying that. If Chef had the investment, if he had the stock, he wouldn't be saying that. But he don't have the stock, so tomorrow, or maybe he don't, or maybe he playing. Who knows with Chef? But I don't need to, like, sometimes getting somebody to accept something. We was just talking about this earlier with Corey. Trying to get old niggas to accept shit, that shit over with. Kyle, the majority of people, you said that guy that got that job the other, that you helped get that position, right? You said he was 26. That nigga was still malleable. He wasn't dug in. He wasn't this, that, and the other. Learn from the words of Baird Rustin, another one of our brothers. That man literally said during the civil rights movement, fuck all them old niggas in church. Give me the kids. We'll get this done. Give me the youth. We'll get this done. And I don't mean like 16, 17. Get the 22, 23, 24, 25 that still got some hope. The niggas that ain't been beat up yet. They ain't got the world ain't kicked their ass yet. So my point still remains the same, Logic. You have to detail these things because we've seen it before. So as long as you've seen it before, you can act accordingly. The problem is y'all see it, not y'all, but a lot of people online or in the conscious community, you see the shit happen before, but then you don't place yourself in a position to where you could benefit from it.
Yep, that's true. Hey,
like you just
Brad.
talk about this happened again and this happened again and this happened again, bro. That's the crux of capitalism. When COVID happened, COVID created billionaires.
Yep.
It created industries.
Brass, can I just interject this before we move?
I was done.
Yeah. The UPS situation. The UPS situation is this, right? The workers at UPS begin to think that this company, this corporation, was now being fair. Was going back to the day of Henry Ford. Because UPS, part of the reason why UPS lost a profit is that importation from China has just drastically decreased. That was part of the problem. But UPS used that also as justification for what they're doing. They want to increase the profit margin. That it was all about money.
Yeah. Hey,
it wasn't about the
back. I put an article that was about 3 years old, maybe 2.5 years old, that actually lays out everything that we are experiencing and will continue to experience. This is from Forbes. This is from all the experts, the higher ups in companies. This is senior leadership. They all basically are in full agreement that workforces are going to be pushed out for AI in the future. Did multiple shows on this, but now we're starting to see the effects of these things. And people in corporate America, they're going to word it how they want to, but the bottom line is, the bottom line is, it is the bottom line. That's really what these decisions are for. Because when you change the automation, when you change the virtualization of system, things of that sort, you reduce your capex, and especially you reduce your capex and your opex. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that keep businesses thriving. Now we're looking at it from a position of people who are being employed by the businesses like this is a bad thing, but as a business owner, they would look at it as a great thing. So a lot of businesses are going to be shifting toward this model going forward, especially after they're going to start seeing the success of these major companies like Amazon, Google, Nvidia, all this type of shit. They're going to all go to robotics and AI. And we got to get ourselves prepared for this because we're in a new age. We're in the next step in the industrial revolution. The same way people, when they all lost their job because they didn't have steam engines and shit like that, and then they transitioned. This is happening right now before our eyes, and we're not prepared for that transition. And we gotta make sure we're prepared educationally, skills-based or whatever, to be able to be effective. And skills that are highly in demand are gonna be tech skills and also construction, plumbers, and electricians. These people are gonna make a fucking killing in the next couple of years.
Anybody in the trades in the future will become millionaires.
What it does is this goes back to studying history. This is where when Corey be talking about unions and stuff, we glance over these conversations, but UPS didn't just give the drivers damn near $170,000 a year. The Teamsters negotiated that deal. Yeah. And you know why the Teamsters negotiated that deal? Because after COVID, remember this was 2023, so we're talking about post-pandemic. They realized, a lot of companies across the globe, you see it happening everywhere. They all did it. They realized that, damn, their business actually runs almost smoother with less brick and mortar, less overhead, less costs when we just run our shit online and kiosks with less employees.
Yep.
So what the smart companies did was analyze what was going on. So like the UPS, the Teamsters actually recognized they worked with UPS on the idea. So while we're sitting here saying, why are y'all paying the drivers $170,000 in benefits and all this, that, and the other, the Teamsters and UPS, just follow me for 2 seconds. The Teamsters and UPS behind the scenes already knew UPS doesn't like working with Amazon because they don't make as much money. It's less profitable when they work with Amazon because Amazon's promises don't fit UPS's bottom line. So they wanted to limit the amount of work they was doing with Amazon. So the Teamsters got with UPS in 2023. And what the Teamsters said to UPS was, why don't y'all close some of these places? Close some of these buildings. Y'all got way too many. When they sent all them workers home, Kyle know what I'm talking about? When they sent all them workers home and was just doing them Zoom meetings, you think them companies didn't realize, wait a minute. You mean we ain't got to pay that fucking, and I do commercial real estate, we ain't got to pay that motherfucking $75,000 a month for that Matt Cali building in the middle of Bergen County? For just, and all they do is meet and stamp and do shit they could do at their fucking house? You mean we can get rid, now we talking about UPS, you mean we can get rid of the 200 plus Matt Cali buildings we got in each state of this motherfucking nation? We can cut all of them motherfuckers and send them home and just work with the drivers? And the team said, yeah, but you're gonna have to pay us more because we're gonna have to do a little bit more work. They got some more handheld shit that they gotta use to do some of the back office logistics. But it works out. So now they're getting paid more to do a little bit more. The teams has negotiated that. So this money, when we say 48,000 employees, I'm not talking about the drivers. I'm talking about management.
Yeah.
See, when people keep talking about white man, look at what the white man did to the common person. They don't give a fuck. The white CEO don't care about the white management neither. And them niggas get paid more than everybody else. So they fired them 48,000 jobs. I'm reading the article right now. Them 48,000 jobs was 14,000 management and 34,000 operations, which includes warehouses and logistic roles. It's a part of a multi-billion-dollar savings plan. They've closed hundreds of buildings. And the cuts are tied to reducing the low-profit Amazon work. So in this particular case, this goes back to Logic's point. If you as a black person want to sit online and say, man, them drivers, because we was in here doing it, them damn drivers making $170,000 a year to motherfucking ship packages. And y'all niggas was hating on the brothers and the sisters and the white people and the Spanish, all the different people because they just UPS drivers, how they can do that. I already know when a company starts locking in its labor force, management better get ready to get the fuck on.
Yep.
Or when they start not paying the labor force, it's the other way around. So I could have sold then when people, you know how many people started selling? I ain't supporting no company pay a driver $170,000. I held square. Matter of fact, I upped the shit in 2024. And the stock price surged when they fired all that management and logistics. And it was actually for the benefit of the driver.
Yep.
So that's business 101. But whether it's a nigga that did a show in 2023 complaining about drivers getting $170,000, and it's a nigga doing a show last week saying, look at another corporate such and such, or it's a nigga like me that doing both, actually educating, but then privately in my own fucking account, I'm having a great year, bro. Into my year.
Yep. Hey man, one AI agent can replace an entire department. The AI agent
and again, that's what I always talk about. How AI can only make the skilled workers, right? Because them truck drivers are skilled workers. They find the push button motherfuckers, the motherfuckers who answer the emails and look over the workers at the warehouse and make sure that they punch the time clock on time and all the rest of the shit, right?
Yep.
And whether they took a 45-minute lunch instead of a 30-minute lunch, right? They fired all of them because they don't need them. They fired the push button, the guy that pushed the button. They don't need the motherfucker to push the button. But the skilled motherfuckers, right? That not only the skilled motherfuckers, but the motherfuckers that's organized always come out on top. You see what I'm saying? It's due to the organization. What Brian say? What did Brian say? He say the Teamsters came to the negotiating table. The Teamsters went, because you know, they already traded with Amazon. Amazon wasn't fucking around. Plus, unions, we don't like Amazon anyway because their work conditions ain't safe. You see what I'm saying? They don't provide safe work conditions. So, you know, the Teamsters wouldn't work. They wouldn't negotiate with Amazon anyway, right? Because they both ways, FedEx, UPS, Amazon, and throughout all that, Amazon is the most unsafe workplace, right? But you see, when they have some type of organization behind them that's doing understanding the information that the actual workers don't have time to, right? That's why it's important to be organized, because you pay dues, right, when you organize. And those dues go to pay for motherfuckers to pay attention to the shit that Brass is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens in my union. I don't have to pay attention to politics, right? Because I do because I have passion about it, right? But I actually pay somebody to pay attention to politics for me. That's why I pay dues. Because there's somebody, a legal team, a group of people paying attention to all of those things that may come down the line, right? And look at how the Inflation Reduction Act came through. You see what I'm saying? Oh, that's a part of that. That, you know, the Teamsters and UPS with Biden too on a lot of this shit. Just to put that out there, you know what I mean? But y'all go ahead.
Hey, but another thing, Corey, that people don't really realize is, and this is another reason why unions are so important. I want everybody in this motherfucker to understand that this shit could have went the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And that the drivers don't get into them rooms that the Teamsters can get into. The drivers don't get in, and most of this shit is settled. That why I'm learning to play golf, because most of this shit ain't settled in a boardroom. I'm closing more deals on golf courses. Well, I don't know how to play yet, but in the motherfucking eating area, because I know how to eat. I'm good at that. But the damn, like, the deals are getting done there over lunches, over dinners. You just go to the boardroom, the irons, you know, minutia out there. That shit take the longest. But usually what happens is when UPS first started talking about it, they probably was talking about lowering the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And if the drivers ain't in the room to defend themselves, or at least to make it understand, listen, you could tell a person how important you are to them all day long. But if you don't somewhere in that conversation explain to them why they're so valuable to you or why you're so valuable to them, then you'll just get put to the wayside. That's why it's so important that it's clear that Teamsters and UPS work together to understand that we don't need all this fucking logistics. The drivers ain't the issue. Matter of fact, UPS got a new slogan, the bigger, not better, or some shit, or better, not bigger, something like that, where they it's the Amazon issue. And no companies on this planet, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, there are no unions. While everybody complaining about Amazon, if you got stock in it, keep it. Because I'm gonna tell you something right now, Amazon at some point, they remind me of the story of Ma Bell I learned in business. At some point, even the mightiest companies, if your business practices is bad, you will fall. Yep. Amazon works their workers like slaves.
Yep.
If you don't, I know, and the sad thing is, they do it in the sickest fucking way. They go to the worst communities, set up bare bones, shitty warehouses that ain't insulated, all kind of crazy shit. It's cold in the winter, hot in the summer, and they hire everybody in that motherfucker for $20 an hour. A little bit higher than minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon's the terrible work conditions, terrible breaks, terrible everything. And then what they'll do is they will turn around and the Amazon has an 86% turnover rate. And they don't care because they'll just keep hiring and rehiring and hiring and hiring and rehiring. They don't care who they hire. They don't even some of these people, I'm telling y'all now, brass tax tip 101. This is the first one I'm gonna give. When a motherfucker dropping a package off at your house,
you don't care what
motherfucker leave. Because Amazon hires anybody. If you're a woman, don't be going to the door with your robe on and having conversations and shit. Yeah, what?
Bruss, let me cut you before you move too far, because you said something earlier that you're on the golf course. I had a friend who was in management, and she always said when she got to these meetings, she always behind. She was black, and she was the only black person in the room. And I have to tell her that, listen, when you go to a meeting, you are the last person at that meeting.
Oh, yeah,
because everything that was discussed in the meeting was discussed before at the house, at dinner, at the golf course, when they meet up. Because these people, white management, meet up regularly outside of work. They have their own artificial friendships that they have outside of work. So they're always together somewhere else. So therefore, you always have to be on top of everything that is doing, even 2 weeks ahead, just to be where they're at. Because you start hearing them use terminology and start having an approach why that should work that way or why they should do that thing. Not realizing that these people meet before. And I realizing what Brass is doing. Brass is meeting them where they meet. They're not getting the jump on that motherfucker.
Where the decisions made. Bro, y'all work in corporations. Have y'all ever worked in a corporation where they start asking y'all, and the funniest shit in the world, Stu Peas, what they'll do to you? I've seen it happen. I've sat there like, we already discussed this shit, but okay. They'll sit there and say, well, we're thinking of it. They use this word that is one of the worst words in corporate history, initiative.
Yeah.
We've got this initiative that we're looking at putting forth. And then they'll say shit like, yeah, this initiative, this is something, and they'll start asking you your opinion. And then there's always 2 or 3 people in there, probably like Corey or like a person that will actually speak their mind no matter who in the room, a chef. And then they'll be like, why you always gotta talk? You know why they upset with you talking and why they don't really care what you think? Because the decision's been made already.
Yeah.
You just making the meeting longer. You stopping them from getting drinks.
Yo, Bryce, could I cut in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I want to introduce Dee to the panel. I invited her to your Discord because she's a she drives trucks. And I know Corey and the rest of them that drive truck. And even the conversation we're having now, she got input. So I want everybody in the panel, to welcome Dee and all of them. So that's all.
Welcome, Dee.
What's up, Dee?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Dee, we can get a little violence here verbally, but don't take it personal. It's not personal here. Trust me.
Oh, no. I don't take anything. Dude, you don't understand. I've been in the military. I've done all kinds of shit. I don't take anything personally. Life's too damn short.
So if you say you ex-military, then you got thick ass skin. So let's get to it.
You love it here. You love it here. You love it here.
Yeah, firefighting. I was the only female. Believe me. Don't worry about me. I'm good. You ain't got a curve. What y'all doing? I'm good.
Okay. No. We're not going to curve it. We're not going to curve it.
Then we're good.
Right? We're good. All right. And we discuss varying topics here. We discuss a lot of topics.
She just reminded me of Sister Safa, right? I thought about her today. Like, I actually enjoy arguing with Sister Safa but I ain't heard from her in like a couple weeks, so she ain't been here on a couple weeks. So
Yeah.
maybe this sister may take her place, man. Maybe she might become my favorite person to argue with. You know what I mean?
I will tell you, when I form an opinion, I'm not saying that I'm always right, but I will defend it until you prove me wrong. And when you prove me wrong, I will concede.
You gonna fit in right. You gonna fit in perfectly here.
Right. Bring your pillow. You're all right. You're at home. Go for your pillow. You're at home. You're at home. Only thing you need now is your pillow. You're at home. You're all right. You're going to enjoy it.
I thought about Didi when I was having the trucking conversation the other day. I was like, yo, it'd be good to have a female voice in here on this. And Didi came to my mind, so I did send her an invite.
I could get out of here in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Buddha. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I could get Didi out of here in 30 minutes.
Yeah. No, you do. Didi, we have some controversial thoughts here to also, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
Look,
this nigga is already on some bullshit.
Listen, I be looking for shit to do because, you know, yeah, a lot of spaces are turning to bullshit. And so it sounds like y'all a real group. And I look for that because you got to understand, I drive sometimes 16, 18-hour days. So I don't, so when I was in the fire department and I would drive that big old truck.
A blue collar working class woman. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
But just to lay a little bit of background down, when I was on the fire department, I drove big trucks, and you know it's kind of messed up when you got something with lights and sirens and people won't get out your way and you're trying to save somebody. And so when I decided to come into this OTR industry, I have a Class B, but I decided that, you know, I'm to the point where, you know, my children are 26 and 28. They live with their significant others. I have no obligations. And so I decided to go the expedite route because, number one, the pay is amazing. And I'm driving, like, I'm sure y'all have seen the tall white vans, but I can explore when I go different places. Like I can go to Niagara Falls, I can go to Boston, where I don't have to worry about parking. And I just love the life. And I would never try to say that I am the same as a trucker, just to make clarification, because what y'all are driving and what I'm driving are two separate things. But we are a lot alike in ways that people don't really want to admit. You know, you got people in my thing that talk crap about the big trucks, and the big trucks hate us type thing. I've never been that way because the way I see it, we all out here hustling. We're all trying to make a living. We all, you know, we deal with a lot of the same stuff out here. So that's just a little bit of background on me. I'm currently right now heading to Arkansas to pick up and head to Denton, Texas. Last year I was out 332 days out of the year.
You do the box truck?
No, not a box truck. I didn't even want a box truck because they have parking issues too. Buddha see what I drive. As a matter of fact, I drive a 2024 Dodge ProMaster 2500.
Oh, that's a transit. It's a transit truck, basically.
Yeah, like a Sprint.
Yeah. There you go.
No, but
Yeah.
Didi, tell them how you got
like
registered with the federal. What's that commission y'all use? The how you got your thing registered like a trucker? With the MC something,
yeah. Like a lot of people, like I try to help people, but people don't want to listen. But I promise you, like I tell people all the time, I'm not going to tell you anything wrong. If I suggest something to you, it's because it worked for me. So a lot of people out here, they want to start their trucking companies, rather it be what I'm doing, rather it be a big truck. And as you know, if you're in trucking, you know how important when you're doing your own business, how important an aged MC is. So what I did was I did a lot of research, and North Carolina was kind of resistant. But one thing that they can't argue with is black and white. If I just had a piece of crap vehicle that I didn't even drive anymore. I went and put commercial insurance on it. My insurance was like $200 a month for commercial insurance, $1 million coverage with 100,000 cargo. I put everything on that. with my MC number, and it sat in my yard and aged my MC while I was out driving for somebody else. And people was like, well, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, you can. North Carolina tried to resist it, but like I said, you can't argue with black and white. Show me in your laws where I can't do that. And they couldn't. So they had to accommodate me and let me do it. So I'm out here driving for somebody else. Meantime, my MC, 2 years old, now when I go out on my own, all they're seeing is a 2-year-old MC. I'm established. So
working loopholes. That's what we're talking about. Work them loopholes.
Yeah, you got to. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of times, okay, I haven't been in this space long. Forgive me if I say something wrong, but a lot of times the difference between a white person's success and a black person's success is they know how to work the loopholes.
Talk. And we're gonna drop a bomb. You just received your first bomb.
Yeah, Brad just said that. Brad just said that. That's what Brad said. He's working the loophole. He's going to the golf course. She's doing her version of it. Welcome. Brass is going to love you. He's going to turn you into a conservative, though. We're ready.
You said you were driving to Denton, Texas. I used to live in Denton. Yeah. Make sure you slow down going through that mud.
Listen, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. The climate out here is getting really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming through New Mexico 2 weeks ago. It was really, and I'll be honest with you. I normally plan all my stops, but I was having a bad day. I was singing and having my little concert and forgot to stop where I was going to stop to get gas. And I had to stop in one of these bullshit towns. And I knew I was in trouble when I got my gas. I wanted a receipt. And I walked inside, and it was nothing but Hispanics and white men. That's it. And there was maybe 30 of them in there. So I'm in line. I'm minding my own business, uncomfortable as hell, because I just know that this is not a situation that I need to be in, especially out here by myself. And white guy comes up to me. I'm minding my own business. I'm just looking straight, trying to, get the shit I need. And he says, "Can I ask you a question?" I don't answer him, but he's just going to go on with the shit anyway. He says, "Do you know what NBA stands for?" And I'm like, okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the National Basketball Association. He was like, yeah, they didn't let niggas in that until like 1960, right? So now I'm standing here trying to figure out where the fuck this conversation came from. And people could talk about that black and brown shit, but let none of them motherfuckers say that. They laughed. They thought everything was funny. I'm like, okay, I can't really react because I am severely outnumbered here. I'm by myself. Just keep it calm. So then he looks and he goes, "I got a joke for you." I'm still just looking straight. He said, "What do you call it when you take 100 niggers to a football field and bury them up to their necks?" I'm still not saying anything. He goes, "AstroTurf." Ha 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 ha. Everybody starts laughing. And I don't know what see, I gotta watch my mouth. When he said that, it sent hell through me. And I said, look, you're not even a good fucking racist, because I'm pretty sure that the punchline wasn't AstroTurf. It was AfroTurf. Now everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, yeah, I don't even give a fuck about the receipt anymore. I hauled ass and got out of there. But that's the kind of climate that's out here right now.
Okay, yes. No. You have answered so many questions.
Means no blacks allowed.
Racism in America. Racism in America. Does racism still exist? You coming in here now is verifying a lot of people thinking, and you're answering a lot of questions.
Yeah, if somebody from another race come to me and they're being nice, my first thought is, what is it that I have that they need?
Oh, I love you already. Baby girl, get married to me. Married to me. I love you already.
It sucks you have to be that way, but I mean, it's just the way it is.
Hold on, DD. Yo, DD will pull up on you. She drives all across the country. So, DQ's in Waco, DD. You got another safe place to stop off. The same way you do in New Orleans with me, because she drives everywhere. So, and
yeah,
DQ
I do United States and Canada. So
you might want to, let people know when you're in the area, they got business, and that DD will pull up on you and check your business and all of that. She cool, man.
I read it. Good shit. I like that. I'm glad you're in the space. Yeah, it's about to be a little bit dope. We got a woman in the space, to balance some shit out, add some flame to some shit, little spice, cayenne. Let's get it in.
Appreciate it. I appreciate the invite and y'all welcoming me in. So appreciate it.
So let's keep it going. Where we left off? White people sprinkling freedom? That's where we left off?
Back to the niggatry.
Yeah. Tomorrow it ain't gonna be none of this warm welcome and all that. Just let you know.
Yeah, tomorrow is back mudslinging.
I don't fucking care. It's all good.
Yeah.
It comes from a place of love. See, I can't call DD a collaborator. I'm just listening to DD now, and I know that when we're in the back house, I can say to DD, we're going up to the big house tonight, and we're going to chop all of those. DD coming with me. I know that. I'd have to ask. When I say I'm going up to the big house to chop up these donkeys, you coming? I know that I wouldn't have to ask DD 2 times.
I'm getting too old for some of this shit, but boy, in the day, woof. Good. I have to remember sometimes. Look, these bones ain't what they used to be.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, man, but you enjoy it here. You'll enjoy it here.
Yeah, I've been looking for something else because I was kind of in a space. They got a little crazy. I haven't been there in a while. So I appreciate Buddha reaching out to me. So
yeah.
Where was that? You spoke about the space you came from a couple times.
Well, a lot of people, you got to understand. Okay, how can I word this? And when I say that, believe me, I'm not trying to hold back. It's just I'm trying to figure out how to communicate what I'm trying to say. I would never say as a woman that I am equal to a man. There are things that are meant for men and there are things that are meant for women. But you have to understand, I have been on my own for so long. And I'm going to be 50 in January. I'm not going to subscribe to the bullshit of you're a woman, shut the fuck up, men are talking type thing. If you don't want women in the space, I'm cool with that. Just tell me you don't want me here and I'll fucking leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am who I am and I'm not going to change that. I am unapologetically who I am. So
all this space said you can hold your own. You're intelligent enough, your opinion bright enough. We are equal right ass whoopers around here. And we expect to get our ass whoops the same way. If you can beat us up, that is all. Right? Don't be shy. And
I will cuss you out just as quick as you can cuss me out. I mean, I try to be respectful, but I mean, sometimes I'll be honest. There's certain things I'm passionate about, and I might get a little, but apologize. It is what it is.
You ain't real if you ain't passionate about certain subjects. If certain subjects don't piss you off, or you know what I mean, get you excited, and you ain't real. You know what I mean. But I want to ask, have you been in other discords, and if so, which other discords are we familiar with them, or would we not be familiar with them? What's the case on that?
So Discord is something new to me. The first time I even experienced Discord, it was from a paralegal channel during the Young Thug trial in Atlanta. They had a Discord where, after the court day or whatever, we'd get in there and talk about what happened and float around ideas and things like that. But other than that, I really don't have experience with Discord. As a matter of fact, Buddha sent me a message today and he was like, hey, we're in a good conversation. You need to join us. And I'm like, I can't. I said, I will when I can. And then I happened to, I was at a stoplight and I happened to look at it. I'm like, oh, they have voice? Because I saw the voice beside. Oh, okay, I can go ahead and join it. I didn't know it was voice. So, because of course I can't,
Yeah. It's primarily voice. Although we have a back chat, and you see articles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, I don't have hours of service, so I mean, I had a run not too long ago. It was 26-hour drive. I do strict expedite. So when I get the call, I got 5 to 15 minutes to be on the road, And 9 times out of 10 is what they call a direct, where I have to pick it up and get it there as soon as possible. So I be driving a lot. And if I'm not driving, I'm sleeping. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much that.
Okay, you'll enjoy it here. You will enjoy it here. Seriously, you will enjoy it here.
Well, welcome. Well, yeah, welcome. For sure. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Mujasa? You came back, man. I seen you come back.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon to brothers and sisters in the Discord, those who I didn't get a chance to greet this morning. Good morning to y'all.
What up, guys?
Yeah, we was in the middle of the good one. You had one of your clients that you wanted to go deal with. Of course, you had to go take care of that. So I don't exactly remember where we left off, but we have kind of moved this conversation a little bit. And of course, Chef gonna put his 2 cents in there, and I want to avoid as much of that as I can. But okay, so I think where we left off at was we were starting to kind of like detail. I believe you were still explaining like how do you maintain your faith, or you can actually predict that things will eventually change when it comes to like legislation and policy and things like that, right? That you and Kyle were kind of sort of explaining that you still have to, once you get policy, maybe you don't need something as sentimental as trust anymore, right? You remember who kind of left off there?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I remember that.
remember that for the most part.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think we like finished flushing out that part. And I think I was about to explain that maybe trust isn't the most convenient word, but anytime that you're talking about that political thing, there's some level of collaboration that would have to be had, whether it's on good faith or not, but it would still kind of require that. And Corey gave, or matter of fact, it was you gave the example of the guy who worked with the Ku Klux Klan in order to do something, and Corey kind of intervened, and he was like, we need to do more of that. Right? We need to have more meetings in between those people groups, right? So my big point is I'm trying to figure out, right? Is there a real distinction, or are we making a distinction when we're talking about how much, or if it's not trust, that we're actually are we in there somewhere letting our guard down to some degree? Even when we're talking about policy and all those kind of things, but when you look at Jim Crow and all sorts of other broken promises that we have to deal with, how does policy kind of like negate some of those things, right? Now that I got the policy, I don't necessarily I got something better than trust. Is almost how you described it. While Mujosh is getting his mic together, go ahead.
I mean, and I know you was asking a question to Mujasi, but
no, go ahead.
I'd like to put my 2 cents in here. I would say I would agree with you there, like that policy is better than trust. You know what I mean? Because trust has to do with human beings and their character, right? And we don't want to place certain circumstances in the hands of human beings' character, because we know that human beings are flawed. So this policy is what kind of keeps us both honest, because we can say, well, like in the KKK example that we were talking about earlier, right? We can say, well, what if they went and did some type of backdoor deal? You know what I'm saying? Well, what if the niggas did a backdoor deal with the corporation?
Well,
Again,
the corporation ain't gonna reach out to the niggas and do no backdoor deal. That's my
not. It depends on, like we talked about the impact research, right? The corporation is out. They don't give a damn what color you is. They're out. They have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors. That's what the corporation. You got to understand. They have a policy. They're under policy. They have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors. So whether they like niggas or not, it's about what's more profitable, what's more beneficial to the corporation. You see what I'm saying? So that policy keeps both parties or all three parties honest in a way.
Now that I think about it, you're probably the perfect person to answer this, right? And I might just need some correction so I can see what you're seeing. But like, isn't that what happened when talking about affirmative action? Like, we got the policy, at least it seemed like we got the policy, right? And of course, as you do the data on it 50 years later, it didn't necessarily benefit us in the way that we thought it did.
Right, because the policy is flawed. I mean, the policy was enforced, though. You know what I mean? Now, the policy being flawed is a whole nother endeavor. You see what I'm saying? So then we would have to go in to refine, the policy. You know, there's always revisions and room for improvement. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of a separate thing. I don't know. Maybe I didn't understand it the right way, but to me, I think that's kind of a separate thing.
Well, so somewhere in there, that policy being flawed, there's no like intersection between that and the level of trust that we had in the policy to not be flawed.
Yeah, so I don't think the flaw has to do with I don't think that flaw has to do with trust. I think it has to do with foresight. I don't think either party could see, you know what I'm saying? Some of the flaws in the policy in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to go through it to then see those flaws. And then now, like, where we're in a position today where both parties are saying, because I think you were under you're of the opinion that affirmative action didn't work, right? Or doesn't work, right?
It wasn't as specific to African Americans as it appeared.
Yeah. So, and then there, so that's another thing. But I will address that though, right? But what I'm saying from the beginning part is that, you know, the flaw and the trust are two different things. I think the flaw has to do with foresight. You know what I mean? And that, you know, trial and error. We're gonna have to have some type of trial and error. Like, policy is not gonna be perfectly written, right? And then what did you say? What did you just say? I just forgot it. Fuck, I wanted to address it. You said something else.
I'm starting to form my new question in my head, so I probably forgot it too. But where I'm going with you is, right. So once they set the policy in motion and they start collecting data on it, and in 30 years, like, you see that white women benefit from it more than black people, right? If your purpose for the policy is the benefit of black people, you would revise it to benefit black people, right? You wouldn't keep it like it is so it can continue to not benefit this particular demographic over another, right? Like so whole time we're saying that it was flawed and didn't work. Well, maybe it actually did work, just not the way we thought it was supposed to work.
Right. So I don't think the policy was actually. I think the policy was intended to do what we said it was to do, benefit black people. I think overwhelmingly in the beginning, I think it did. But here's where I'm gonna be a little bit controversial. Y'all might cringe at what I'm about to say.
Come on with it.
Black people got to apply themselves. Like, because listen, in my city, right? And I believe this is like this is the case in most cities, right? There's what do you say? Priority. There's priority allocated and set aside for Black small businesses, for or minority businesses, right? So there's grants and different things that you can apply for to get your small business going as a minority, right? In my city, Black folk don't take advantage of that. It's there, the money's there, the grants are there, the policy's there, right? But it's worded in a way that, okay, if you niggas ain't gonna get it, then somebody else gonna get, another group of minorities is gonna get it, right? Because the way the policy is worded is for minorities, right? But in that wording, Black people are already allocated a priority for it to benefit Black people. But Black people, Black men and women, ain't going down and start their businesses. They ain't going down and get those grants. You see what I'm saying? And what white men are doing with the sister just came on and said, and Brass was talking about earlier, what white men have done is took advantage of the loophole. So what they do is put their business in their wife's name.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they reap the benefits. You see what y'all, as you picking me up? As you picking up what I'm laying down?
I'm definitely
so that the
picking
fact
up
that
what you're laying down.
Yeah,
what
so
that
the
would,
fact that
what that would do
white
is
women
put
fall
the
under minorities.
responsibility completely off the policy and put it on African Americans.
Well, no, because it's not on. The thing is, the policy's written. Logic. You are you picking that
you
down?
went out. You about to start cooking.
When I say that the priority has, do you understand what I'm saying when I say the priority has already been allocated to Black folks? Meaning, like when it's like
the money's already been set aside. You just got to fill out. You just got to fill out your form.
Just go down there and do what you're supposed to do. Get your LLC going. Do the paperwork. That's what's not being done because believe me, it's nothing stopping me from taking advantage of that. There's nothing stopping me from taking advantage of that. It's nothing stopping my neighbor from taking advantage of that. It's nothing stopping my wife, my daughter, my aunt, my uncle. All of them can take advantage of it. Everybody on this call. The sister just talked about the way she subverted the red tape. You see what I'm saying? There's ways.
I do.
We can't be
what
mad
you're
at
saying.
white
I'm
men
trying to word it
because they found the loophole. We can't be mad at the white women and white men because they found the loophole and they actually use it. You know what I mean? We don't even need a loophole. All we need to do is go straight ahead. They did their due diligence enough to find the loophole. So that is work. There's work behind that. We don't even got to do no word logic.
Okay, so finish this sentence for me. America is doing a good job of what?
Well, America ain't doing that good of a job at a lot of shit, bro. But that wasn't my argument. If you think that was my argument, right?
No,
I think
I'm just trying to. I mean, look. So look. When you taking all the responsibility, at least when you take any responsibility off the policy, and I'm trying to be tricky here. I'm trying to kind of just extend, kind of flush out everything that you're thinking. So let
me ask the question this time. Where is the policy at fault here? I'm asking, where is the policy at fault here? What is the policy doing wrong? Where it says there's a certain amount of money allocated for minority groups to get a small business started, right? Where is the policy wrong at?
Mm, you got me.
Yeah. So, because I
Yeah,
mean,
you
the
got
thing
me.
is, you gotta apply yourself, and black folk don't want to hear it. Black
Right.
folk don't want to hear that you got to get up off your motherfucking ass because the white man ain't gonna send it to you in the mail.
Right.
He
I agree.
already allocated the priority for you. Now, what you want him to do? You want him to run your business for you? You know what
Now
I'm
I'll even
saying?
go and see.
Go ahead, go ahead, sister.
I was the program director for a program, and our focus was on minorities. But this is what people don't understand, and this is the shit that I had to put up with. So let's say that I'm allotted $800,000 towards helping minorities that can't afford legal services with legal services with anything pertaining to family law. Let's just put one. I'll just use the program that I was over. So here's my problem. I go out, I bust my ass, I get all this funding, $800,000 worth of funding. All you have to do is call me. I set up an appointment. You walk in the door, you tell me what your problem is. I find an appropriate lawyer for whatever you're going through, and I work out with the lawyer. Some of the lawyers would even do it for free, right? Because they get the continuing education credits, things of that nature. Now, here's the thing. If my year in is coming to an end and blacks haven't come in for me to use those funds, now I got to look at white women. I got to look at Chinese, everybody else, even though me being in the position I am would have preferred to help black people. But here's the thing. A lot of programs like that are use or lose. So basically, if I have $800,000 and nobody comes in and gets it, if I don't give it away to somebody, they're going to look at me when I go apply the next year and say, look, we gave you $800,000. You still got $400 sitting in there. So you know what? We're cutting your grant from 800,000 to 400,000 since that's all you used and that's all you needed. So now I got a choice. Do I do that, or do I use every bit of it so that I can keep my funding high? But then when they see that I'm helping these other minority people, you're going to come at me saying, see, that's what's wrong with black people. They get in these positions and they don't even help us.
Talk about it, sister. Talk about it. And that's
But
a
what am I
real
supposed
big
to do?
problem. That's a real big
I
problem. I
lose either
think
way.
Shepard brought it up last week,
Mm,
where or it was either Shepard or Brass, where he went down to the clerk's office and them motherfuckers was happy to see him. I think he was going to get a grant or something for something. The clerk was so happy to see him because nobody comes down there and get the goddamn grant. You know what I'm saying? Just and go the extra
now
mile.
this
They'll
is tough.
actually most of the time they'll go the extra mile for you because you've been the only one all year
Yeah.
to come down there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the sister's talking real talk here.
Yeah, Mujasi, I'm having a hard. I can't disagree with nothing they saying right now. You know me. I'll try to find some middle ground if I can. I'm trying. Like I wanted Corey to tell me, America was doing a great job. He didn't fall for it, but in the way he explaining it, right? Like, man, I don't know what to say. I don't got one for that. I see you off mute. You there, bro?
No, I'm right here. I'm learning from them. I'm listening. And I love their response. The response was on point. It's hard to sit up here and just say that America is this towards any group of people because you can make an argument on either end, and that's why I appreciate what I think her name is Didi, and what my brother Corey is saying because they're talking about the difficulties of how this looks and how policies enact and how these things are intricate in so many ways. Are you familiar with Roger Baldwin? Has anybody ever heard that name before, Roger Baldwin?
I've never
No.
heard of it.
Roger Baldwin, he's kind of an ancient figure. He's he was a head of the American. Oh man, my memory is just not serving me well because I'm dealing with some plumbing issues in my home right now, so it just kind of messing up my
Got your
head.
mind in different places.
Yeah, yeah. Roger Baldwin was the person who's one of the founders of the American Civil Liberties Union, and in the 1920s. And if anybody is familiar with ACLU, ACLU was like one of the prominent grassroots organizing efforts to really fight for workers across like two or three different industries at that time. Um, to really promote conscientious speech that was backed and supported by law to be able to be to create. This is at a time where governments and law enforcement really tried their best to suppress. Even corporations used strategies to suppress union voice. And so the ACLU, Roger Baldwin was one of those strong advocates at the time, pacifists at the time, to really bullhorn the voice and the elevation of white and black workers, primarily white workers of his time. But during World War One, he refused to join. He dodged the draft. He refused to participate because from being influenced by the progressive era movement a decade before, he was conscientious of how United States investment into the World War One was more capitalistically driven than it was of spreading democracy or supporting um, the war efforts, the allies at the time. And so he refused, and he ended up facing jail time. He was in prison for a while with that, and that grounded his position of understanding what we will call today, or Marxists will call, the proletariat argument against big body structures. Now, why I bring Roger Baldwin into this conversation, especially in terms of the question that you asked, is because it was people like Roger Baldwin that helped to create an allied relationship with Asa Philip Randolph when he was organizing the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. And I know y'all have heard me bring them up quite a few times because what we see strategically with those brothers organizing in secret, I mean, this was in dark. There was no union under the Pullman Company that was legitimized, especially for black folks. The conductors didn't even have a union under the Pullman Company. And so what these brothers was doing secretly oftentimes got them fired and oftentimes got them roasted from the company. And so strategically hiring Asa Philip Randolph to come to represent their organizing efforts was a powerful move to be able to voice their needs as workers within the railroad industry, as train car workers and conductors, and to fight for equitable wages against the racialized stratification that the companies were doing. But it was also a strategy to be able to have representation that wasn't somebody subjected to working in the company. But it was difficult for ASA to be recognized by the larger union organizations of that time, CIO, the the AFL. Um, and so Roger Baldwin, and this is where the point comes to fruition. Why Roger Baldwin met with Asa Philip Randolph. And it wasn't a conversation of fruit to power, but it was more so, how do we find an alignment of me being an advocate for the workers in this piece and you being an advocate for the Negroes in your piece? What is our alignment here? What is our objectives? How do we see some commonality and solidarity in the work that we're doing and create some fruition? Almost to the date that they met, I want to say 7 or 8 years afterwards, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porter was recognized by the national body unions of that time because of the effort and collaboration between A. Philip Randolph, Roger Baldwin, and numerous other kind of pieces that come together. And I'm providing that as an example because it's in that crux that we see, to your point earlier this morning, Logic, it's in that crux that we see how those conversations and those moments of solidarity becomes fruitful with being able to shape what policy and democracy look like in America. It doesn't come from America doing something from people. It comes from these organized allied relationships where at the time, Roger Baldwin could have focused on just a white proletarian working class, but he chose not to, especially when he saw the power and the organizing fruition that was coming out of these brothers on the railroad tracks organizing as well too. And this is not just historical. That's why I was excited to listen to my brother Corey to talk about Roxanne Brown, because you see the same thing of what she's doing with the and with the United Steelworkers and her effort
Oh
with the
wow!
with the
Look at
LCV,
how that went full circle, right?
yeah,
That was cool.
right, the League of Conservative Voters. Like you see when she bridged the United Steelworkers in a conversation with the LCV, the League of Conservative Voters, to talk about how does these workers begin to work with this grassroots organization around conservation, land, equitable jobs around land, and all of this clean deal. Black folks is wrapped up in the midst of that. And
Mhm.
LCV is heavily influenced by a black agenda. I don't know if people know
And
that.
the sister been around since the Obama administration, just to let you know, and she been fighting the same fight the whole time.
The whole time.
Um,
I would even
yeah,
go before that. She organized
and
like
the thing is,
20,000 workers to show up in DC when Bush was in office. Like she's been on the ground doing this for a while.
absolutely fighting the same fight, and she actually influenced a lot of like the apprenticeship courses in my union, right? To
Yeah,
where we, most tradesmen, we think that clean energy and all of that is all soft and shit, right? And what she brought to the table is how clean energy makes even the workplace safer. You see what
yep,
I'm saying?
yes, sir.
And the environment safer. So, one thing about unions, we all about safety, right? We pride on, our guys doing 35 years in the trade and not missing no limbs or fingers or none of that kind of shit. Like those are the small things that we celebrate in the union. And she kind of brought out how clean energy, climate, a friendly climate has to do with a safe and quality work environment also, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
she's a
sir.
very intricate piece to the workplace safety, workplace conditions, all of that shit right now, you know what I mean? And it's a sister out of all people, like pushing this to big major unions. I'm at 692 cement masons. We 3 million strong, right? She affects
Hmm.
change in our union. The carpenters, I think they out here in the Midwest, they like 10 million strong. You know what I'm saying? And then look at the steel workers, the international steel workers. They 14 million strong, and she influenced the change. This sister girl influenced the changes in the way that we perform our crafts on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
glad you brought her up. I'm impressed that you could even bring her up, Mujashi. So I appreciate that.
Wait. Qualify that, my brother. Why you impressed that I could? Why you say it
Because
like that?
you're more of a historian, and me, I'm more of that working class and current events type
Oh,
deal.
gotcha.
And a lot of times, y'all come in here and say, well, I don't really know much about politics, but I mean, look at you. You know more about politics than you think you do. You know what I'm saying?
I know a little bit. I read one or two books here and there. I know a little something. But I that's why I come here to learn from y'all, and that's why I was excited to hear your thoughts on her because um, I became aware of her a while ago, but when she just recently took this position, I'm like, that's impressive. Like this sister, she's been doing this work for this while. She's been able to have these coalitions and bring these kind of moments of solidarity to tables that are very historically reminiscent of what we see in Ace Philip Randolph, what we've seen in John Mercher, what we've seen in Amzie Moore down in Mississippi, like these collaborative, like processes where we see Black folks who knows how to work across racial lines to make some moves. You know, that's and you that has to enter into this conversation that you're having, Logic,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely. And she comes from the legislative division of the United Steelworkers, right?
uh-huh.
So all of the policies that's been passed that affect those United Steelworkers and their union with these corporations, she drafts those. She writes those proposals and shit like that. That's the part that she comes from. So even like her being the vice president ain't that big of a deal. I think where she comes from was more important. I think she's more on like, what do you call that? Her hiatus or her downstroke of her career at this point. You know what I'm saying? Is being
Yeah,
the
that
vice
makes sense.
president. You know what I mean? Because I think
Yeah.
in her other position, she could affect change more faster and effectively. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I think she's just cooling down and taking her seat at the throne right now. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's amazing, man. I mean, shit, that I don't even have nothing to close out with that. Y'all did a fantastic job of kind of bringing all the conversation kind of full circle, and I feel maybe some of that I just wouldn't have expected to hear, right? That I guess we would get to a point in the conversation and acknowledge that it will. I'm almost scared to say it now, but like almost acknowledge that uh, that crossing those racial lines, pivotal to our success. Because it seems like a lot of times we talk about our success is independent of that. So
Well,
I maybe I didn't expect the conversation to go in that direction. I'm glad it did.
I'm so. Let me be clear though. I'm spinning off of the questions that you asked earlier today, and so I do adhere that there's a conversation, there's an organizing effort, there's a principle that we have to enact that we need to do amongst ourselves. And I say, as a preliminary strategy, before we start interacting and finding solidarity with people across other backgrounds and experiences. I truly hold that to like the core of who I am. Malcolm would say that we have to first do some cleaning of our own house and organizing amongst ourselves before we try to organize with other people. And I think that's inherently how we can be proficient in how we show up to the table. I think we do. And then let me make this clear. Asa Philip Randolph was representing Frank Lloyd. He was representing David McKenzie. He was representing Mr. Brown. I don't know his first name. He was representing brothers who first had to clean house first between Minnesota and St. Louis. There was a track. I can't remember the name of the track, but there was a railroad track that run down between those two cities, and Black men knew each other throughout that whole route, and had literature lines, they had newspaper stands, barbershops, they had many different avenues of being able to connect with brothers all across that line. And so they had to, in quiet, organize, strategize, filter out, and develop ways of being able to have some connections with themselves, belief in themselves, and strategies within themselves before they was able to start bridging with other people in the AFL and CIO and advocating against those organizations, the other people in other brotherhoods, before they even met with Roger Baldwin. And before they even brought in Asa Philip Randolph. And now the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porter, by the time they organized in 1924, that was their fourth attempt to organize a union. The first three attempts failed because of this is where the popular term stool pigeons came from, because there was too many stool pigeons amongst their efforts, where you got one brother that's always susceptible to a good check, who will always snitch out and rat out what was happening with their union organizing efforts. And so By the fourth time,
Collaborators.
yeah, say it again.
Collaborators. Too
Yeah,
many.
too many collaborators. Yeah, and they said it was too many stool pitches. It got to the point where they couldn't even trust certain people to represent them. So one of the things that came out of that is that as we organize, get our charter together, get our objectives, and make sure we're clear on what we're advocating for, we have to have somebody who's untouched by the Pullman company to represent this and lead this effort. And that's how they was able to find this young brother who was influenced by the Socialist Party and had a little wealthy class in Harlem, and he was part of the middle class over there, but just smart, intelligent, avarice, and real powerful, good orator too. And they sought him out. And I can't remember what the whole details and the history around that, but they solicited him. He thought about it. He consulted with his wife about it, and eventually he was like, "Yeah, I'll take it on. I'll take the lead as the representation of this union and see if we can become organized." And the union was broke. They took donations from black men on various different railroad tracks, with the Soo Line, with the Pullman Company, and various different, trying to build up the brotherhood. And eventually the ranks and the membership began to expand during World War II, the upcoming of World War II. But eventually it started to decline a little bit before it hit a big major piece once they become recognized by the AFL and the CIO, which was at that, I think in 1932, they combined together under one union, and the AFL and CIO. And then after that, they were recognized. A couple of years after that, they were recognized by that larger union organization. But the point is that there had to be some internal work first before they were able to do that external collaboration and solidarity. They had to make sure that their T's was crossed and their I's was dotted. They knew who was who. They had their clear agenda and objective. They had good structure. They had a leadership formality and protocol on what they were doing before they was able to start collaborating and meet with the other people. And I think that's critically important amongst any black organizing and grassroots efforts than just kind of reaching out to people in this organized way.
Mujasi, would you see it that was an extension of the new Negro plan, like actually putting that into motion?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely.
No. That's all I wanted to add to you.
Yes, sir.
People that came after the new Negro plan were now trying to actualize it in ways where they move with a different respect and a certain attitude towards legitimizing themselves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Totally agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. My sister Didi, you was about to say something?
Yeah, so here's my question. Like when you're talking about the times, you're talking early, 1900s, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a different thought process back then. Basically, if you weren't white, you were black. I mean, that's oversimplifying it, but I'm just trying to make a point here.
I get your point.
Mm-hmm. So now you have in these days where nobody can even come up with a definition of who we would be. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to kick you out because you got a funny accent because you're from Jamaica, so you don't count. You have a white grandmother, so you're not really black, so you don't count. So how do we even determine who the we is in this day and time?
That's a good question. I'll yield because that's a good question.
The way that she posed it, right? I mean, the fact that she entered the grandmother, right? Could maybe not specifically on purpose, but could the we possibly extend outside of a particular ethnic group if we value like what a person's political standing, or what I'm saying, or how that they want to go about change, like could there be, and this is gonna sound crazy, but like could there be a room for like a Bernie Sanders in our week? Somebody who seems to politically align with us for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's not African American. But since his ideas are so useful, right? Could does he possibly fit it? Maybe that might be an extreme version, but if I'm like, so for me, I would definitely value connecting with people's ideas a lot more than I would connecting with their ethnicity. But that's me, right? I would go there. I want to be around similar thinking people, right? So like, would that prevent him from being in my week?
And we're just so divided because you have people that, it's like, okay, I want to help my people. I'm pro-black, but you can't be pro-black if you're talking to a white person. Here's the thing. I think that this is my personal opinion. I think that we are absolutely being delusional to think that we are going to advance any further without some kind of allies. I mean, it just is what it is. Even if it's just them helping us get our foot in the door. It's just the way it's set up. Is it right? No. But I think to turn away help at this point is just not a very smart thing to do. It's just not. Now, there's certain conversations I think that they should not be a part of because it's not about them. But I would never turn down. And so I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they should be involved in everything. But here's the thing. Let's say that we wanted something passed. Okay, everybody talk about reparations. Here we go. Are there enough black people in the Senate and the House to pass the reparations bill?
Nope.
So how would we get it? We would have to go across to the other side.
Right.
But people, oh, no. We're pro-black. I would never ask a white person for anything. I think that that's just a bad attitude to have. And I think that you can both work with them and still maintain being for your race. That's just me. But as you explore other spaces, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it really breaks my heart sometimes that people think that
that's a true collaborator.
You don't have to give up who you are to get things done just because you're working with somebody outside of the race. My opinion.
I know Tony ain't calling nobody no damn collaborator. That's crazy.
No, not her. Not her. That's what she described was I consider a collaborator.
What my sister said is accurate. Like whether we and this is what what she's echoing is what we talked about this morning. This is the start of the conversation. This is where we landed to. Yeah, is that like we can't progress nothing. Like I gave you the example of just here being in Minnesota. I told you the percentage that we exist in. There's no way we can transform too much of anything legislatively, policy, and even to some degree economically without having to have conversations with white folks. And white folks is in the plenty here with all their various objectives and agendas and interests, self-interest, and all their pieces. They're here. Like I said, I can't sneeze without 4 of them coming out my ass. I can't walk outside of my house without 1 of them there. I can't cough the wrong way without 3 of them coming out. They're just here. I'm in a blanket of whiteness, and I'm not talking about the snow. But in that piece, I think Minnesota is a small microcosm of how politics, unfortunately, have to work in America, where because we play such a small, abysmal percentage of the population, our politics and any type of progressive agenda that we enact as citizens, I'm not talking about those who's on the like black nationalist agenda, all of that, but as citizens, as us trying to participate in this body politic of democracy, we have to reach across socioeconomic and ethnic lines to collaborate and partner and now that word ally in order to progress any agenda that we put forward. But in that deserves a conversation in itself because it's dangerous. They're like, we can't do it naively. We can't do it without being conscious of history. We can't do it without an agenda. And And like my sister brought up, even the conversations of reparations, without going to in details on that, we are doing ourselves a disservice because we have so many fragmented, splintering groups with their own agendas around reparations. And Malcolm will say, we need to clean house first and figure out how we can organize some solidarity amongst us first before we start putting policies on the table for a reparations argument. And we're struggling with doing that. And so to to the point that my sister is saying, she's absolutely correct. Like, we can't push a reparations argument or agenda without having to figure out who is in the Senate, who's in the who's white in the Congress and Senate to be able to push this forward and who can agree with a specific agenda. But I know our power base comes if we can get some of these splintering, fragmented, organized efforts who's advocating for reparations on some accord. And that's
Right.
probably one of our most difficult struggles in that.
And the crazy part about it is there's an example right in our face. And what I mean by that is, I mean, the Black struggle has been going on for hundreds of years here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But let's just say, I mean, I would be willing to say even 50 years ago, to be a part of the LGBTQ community, that was something you never heard of. You kept it in the closet. You didn't talk about it. You know, it was just something that basically didn't exist on a larger scale. So tell me, how did the LGBTQ community surpass us as Black people to get all this legislation, all this recognition? They have come and they have basically, you know, Juneteenth, might have had 2 good years. They say, you know, now Juneteenth, they're flying rainbows. They've taken over that. They have hate crime bills. And they're, I mean, let's just be honest, they're fairly new as far as being out in the open within the last few years. How were they able to do that? Because they don't give a fuck. If you are one of them, cool. If you are an ally, cool. And that's how they're getting all these people behind them, and they're able to accomplish these things.
But one thing, sister, one thing is what I talked about earlier, is that policy, right? And the loopholes, right? But I don't think it's a loophole for them, really. But the thing is, it's the policy of the Civil Rights Act, right? That Black people enacted, that Black people helped get enacted, right? Or didn't get enacted, right? And the thing about that is they kept going. They never stopped. They did what the Jewish people did. They never gave up, and they never forgot that where they was at, they could easily be back there tomorrow. See, niggas think that we're in a position where we can't easily be back where we was at tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So
let me tell you something.
If there was a community, they always kept pushing. They never stopped pushing. They never stopped fighting. And that's an example of what Black folk need to be doing. And they all on one accord. They all on one accord, mind you.
Because they can be in all different type of industry.
No, we're overlooking one major aspect of it. Let's not overlook this big aspect. The majority LGBTQ with power in America are white men. Not because they were gay. Not because they were gay.
Let me ask you this. What are the chances of me going to an LGBTQ rally, right? And let's say I got my flag and I'm there supporting them. What are the chances that one of them is going to pull me aside and be like, hey, are you LGBT? Are you one of us? And I say no, and they tell me to get the fuck out of there.
No, sister, you're right. They take everybody for their support. But at the same time, they discriminate. At the same time, they discriminate because in Georgia, you actually have 2 LGBTQ parade. You have the white parade and you have the black parade. And when you look at the white parade, you're looking at the power. You're looking at the money, the donate and the finance to make the move. Black people need to stop talking with their mouth. Yeah,
but when it comes to policy, it benefits them both, and they will come together. I don't care if you're Black, white, Chinese, whatever. When it comes to gay policy, LGBTQ policy, they will come together and they will get behind it. They have numbers.
No, white LGBTQ will put Black people in the forefront to represent them. We see it all the time because they know that. You're in double jeopardy. You're black and you're gay. So you have the most suffering. So I'm going to put you in front and you're going to represent the whole group. They have no problem using other people for their own benefit. Probably, I understand what you're saying. Probably we should decide to use other people. But we need to understand that we're using them. We're only facilitating them because they're to the benefit of us.
Well,
Exactly what
because
we were
I think
saying
we're
about the
trying to
brother
be,
Watkins
okay, we're not going to
KKK
use
earlier.
anybody. Where has that gotten us?
Yeah. And the brother Watkins, I think the brother Watkins that used the KKK to benefit him and his community, right? That's a good example right there.
Yeah. But one of the major problems we face, let's be honest, our groups are always broke. Gone are the days when Marcus Garvey got $5 from each black person to buy some fucked up ship. Gone are those days that will contribute to our cause. Because most of our causes are broke. And broke causes
You know
don't go
what,
any.
though? Let's just be honest, though. These niggas, how much money did they raise for that, what was that shit? And the Hidden History Museum bullshit that Tariq Nasheed did, and what was the group of black people that got together? They were gonna have the land thing, and they were gonna do like there's so many things. Black people can raise money when they want to. They just choose the wrong damn causes to raise money for.
Right, sis, you are going to sit comfortably here. What that a while ago? Tariq Nasheed bullshit. Everybody there said this sister just got a ticket, and you tell you just that's one of the right answers you give. You understand?
The naysayers ain't in here right now, so she got it easy today. She in here with a bunch of people who agree with her, right?
Anytime, shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because we can raise money, and we raise money for bullshit. We raise money for religion. We raise money for schools that will never exist. We raise money for museums that are not museums. But when it comes to causes, when it comes to actual cause and fight, we're not raising money. We're not raising money.
Can I say something, man? Because I want to, before I move the conversation forward. When you study political science, they had a term that was called coalition.
Yeah.
Where you had one group and you had another group, and they build a coalition for a political agenda, for a political objective.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Why did the term ally get started, replace the term coalition, and then ally develop a negative connotation and become a pejorative term? And the whole concept of coalition just left the political vocabulary for black people.
You know, I wouldn't say, I love that question, Anathema. Thank you. I wouldn't say that was black folks doing, and I'm going to speak locally here in Minnesota. Allyship was heavily used by white folks here to try to create attempted safe coalitions with black folks and Native Americans folks, Latino immigrant folks up here. And they abused it, and they abused it really bad. It got to the point where you have folks, black folks, and what they call BIPOC people rejecting people's allyship card. It got really abusive. It got distorted. It got, aggressive. It was real disgusting to the point where now, your point in question, allyship became a pejorative word that completely dismissed the potential principles and practices of coalition and stuff. And so, and I'm speaking locally here. I don't know what this looked like in California, Florida, Georgia, New Jersey, whatever, but in Minnesota, allyship got heavily abused by white, whether you want to say sincere folks or not. It just became a distasteful concept.
No, I'm just asking a question because that's why I posed the question. I wanted different people's opinion. You understand?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
I just noticed that. I know it because I was like, even when the term came out and I saw how, because I had this similar reaction, like, why y'all using this ally shit?
Right.
The coalition, right? You really, you're
the
not
problem
an
I
ally.
have
There's no board like that for you to be an ally, you know?
Yeah.
Like
but the problem I have with the word ally, and
some local or some national political activity,
Yeah.
and let's coalesce around this, and then you go on
Yeah.
do what y'all do, and me go on do what me I do.
That's
No,
right.
but
That's right.
this is
That's
what
right.
I get from the word ally. When I hear the word coalition, it means a meeting of equal. A coalition is between equals. Everybody coming to the group as equal. And the contributions are what the word what was it? Recognized in a coalition.
Yes.
In an allyship, ally mean that you join with somebody just based on a particular fight.
Yeah.
You don't really
When
see
I
them as
hear
the
coalition,
equal.
I think of the carnivorous podcast. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, y'all. Y'all keep going.
Yeah, when I hear ally, this person is an ally. It's like how they use it and how they're representing it now. It's basically, I understand what you're saying as a Jamaican. I'm using Tariq Nasheed. He's an ally. When Tariq Nasheed used ally, he's not calling the person that he agreed with an equal. He's just saying that, you agree with some of my point. You agree with us, you're an ally. So ally know how it is used and how it is used in language is saying that he's an ally. He's not really one of us.
Yep.
Not to be taken all that seriously, but we can work with him for now. But coalition means that we have seen this problem, and both of us have figured out way how to solve this problem, and we're going to use our best intention going forward. So they took away that word coalition because it's a deeper word that has more connotation for a word which easily manipulated, what they can give meaning to ally. Right?
And that's
Ally.
why they use the word ally in World War II. Because,
Right.
we align on this, but you Russians ain't up. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? When this is over, we're going to be back upside you niggas' heads. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
At the end of this dispute, we're just coming together for this cause. We don't see each other as equal. At the end of this, we're going to be up your head. You say it right, Corey. Right? You say it right. That's how allies are viewed, but coalition is a deeper, more intrinsic together as a more woven fabric. But yeah.
And see, that's why I was talking about when we talked about the KKK Logic and Mujasi earlier. We can align with them. We can have an alliance on that. That don't mean we in a coalition with them.
Right.
That don't mean like we want to love each other and go together or do swinging with each other's wives and no shit like that. We just want to get this situation right here. We agree on this situation. You know what I'm saying? And it's affecting both of us negatively. So yeah.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily
tricky.
extend the we to them, but
Right.
we actually we find out a way to make it beneficial.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
And I love what Stu P's deposited for your question, Brother Anathema, because here, and I'm speaking locally. Again, I can't speak beyond the boundaries of Minnesota. Allyship never, when white folks will come around. Now, remember, we're one of the spaces in the last 6-7 years home to some serious high-profile protest politics. We had the murder of Philando Castile, that was huge. Terrence Franklin, that was huge, and then George Floyd, that was huge, and then what was that young brother name that was murdered in Brooklyn Center?
Wasn't Michael Brown in Minnesota too?
No, he was in St. Louis. He was in Ferguson.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was another young brother here that was murdered a year after George Floyd was murdered, and so it became home to like these real hyper political organizing efforts and protest politics, with Black folks being at the center here, and so allyship was thrown out in all of those situations. But to what Stu P's elevated is that coalition politically, like Anathema's putting on the table, is a meeting, like Stu P said, is a meeting of people coming on equal terms with equal interests and objectives and finding some ways where they can figure out an issue and a problem together. When white folks were showing up in this psychological disposition of an allyship, it was very paternalistic and it was sneaky. And it doesn't mean that they didn't mean well. Like this is not about their intentions. This is about what they did. The onus is on the deed, not your heart. Because they could have had the purest of the heart in the world. But what they did is they came with this, I have something that you need. And then they show up with this psychology of trying to support organizing efforts as if they are giving us something we don't have. Like they're approaching it as a deficit. And sometimes it came in this sneaky way of like, I just want to be of service. I just want to help. And then when these organizing spaces include them in, then their natural tendency to just be paternalistic in that space became very distasteful. And that's why I say that allyship up here ended up taking on a negative connotation because it got so abused and misappropriated in some of these hyper profile organizing spaces.
Yo, I want to thank Stu Peas and Mujasi because I can be sneaky when I discuss rhetoric. And that was the point I was getting at. And the reason I brought up the word coalition is because when he said you got to clean house first, right? That's what
Yes, sir.
in order to have a coalition, you got to clean house first.
That's
So
right.
that you can go and present something to the next group that has cleaned them house and y'all ready to focus on a certain issue in a political or for the body politic or whatever you're going to do in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I brought it up. And I was like, but this term allyship, and it comes with all of these paternalistic, or that's why, but I didn't want to hamper y'all response, if you understand what I'm saying. I didn't want
Yes,
to,
sir.
I want to just genuine, that's why I just posed the question that way. But it comes with all of that, but then we deflect from the whole concept of like when Stu P says it's deeper, but the deeper is the cleaning the house part first, being able to even coalesce as a group. So then you can go form a coalition with other people that have coalesced, if you understand.
Absolutely.
And so we
Completely
got away
understand.
from that deeper concept and we deflected to focusing on the pathology of the concept of allyship and continually to look at the degeneracy of white people. And I just wanted to shift us back to be like, yo, B, we've already been forming coalitions. And we need to just get back to the basic concepts and not allow them to steer the rhetoric around that, which makes
Mm-hmm.
us argue about their degeneracies and pathologies and our disregard for what, and have to go back and prove that we've already did this, we had that. You understand what I said? It almost prevents us from actually performing the process of building a coalition because we spend so much time explaining their degeneracy.
Yes.
I, I
That's where that's where
think I'm
I
following you
know
still,
that I'm sounding
anathema.
definitely off.
I think I'm still following you out there. I got a little confused at the end where you said when where we get obsessed with proving their degeneracy. Can you explain that a little bit more again? I think I got lost there.
So caught up in conversations. For instance, right, when you
Mm-hmm.
brought up about the union, about the sleeping cars, right?
Yes, sir.
That whole conversation is centered around you proving that people are already doing the processes necessarily to build coalitions and
Yes,
go and
sir.
deal with other unions and other things,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
But the primary conversation is always, well, these white folks think we can't do that. So then we got to go back in history and show that we've done it. And we spend
Oh,
time
gotcha.
because of we focus on their degeneracy in regard to us that we go back and try and counteract that concept. You understand? Rather
Mm-hmm.
than pointing that out and just moving forward and trying to, because we always say, how are we going to deal with it now? And that's why I just put the term coalition. Like, wait a minute. All we have to do is use that term again and not complain about, you understand, maybe explain to them like the reason we're failing to build a coalition is because you've come with this ally term that is a pathology in terms of your psychosis around saving black folk. And we're not asking you here to save us. We're asking you here to focus on this issue as your group, and this is our group. And let's go in here and let's coalesce around this issue and get this done.
Yeah,
But all these
but
other behaviors that you're bringing to the table are unnecessary and not progressive. That's something maybe you got to deal with in your personal guilt situation to figure out something about how you see yourself in and of the world.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but something you have to take into consideration is this, as I said earlier, this is what I said earlier. A coalition can only happen when people consider themselves equals. When most persons of Caucasian descent come to the table, they're not looking at black people as equal. They're looking at their allyship as they coming to be the savior. They're coming with a savior mentality. Even when they go, but what you call when Christians leave here and go to Africa? What you call it? Missionary. Even when they go to the missionary work, and for those persons who don't live, who never experience it, they don't go to those people as the equal. They go on a mission to save. And they carry that mentality with them a lot of times. That so their allyship, although they come to say we are allies, they always want to be the one who formulate the direction of the group. They don't recognize that this group has already established what it has and what it need, and you're supposed to contribute to the need, not to reformulate the group. That's why Rachel Dolezal, right? She could have been an ally. She could have collaborated, but she chose to be an ally. And she didn't stop until she rose to the top, even pretending to be a black woman. Because it's the nature of many of them, not all of them. So when we look and say, oh, he's an ally is a dangerous individual. I'm collaborating with you, meaning that I understand where you are. I know what I bring to the table. I'm going to share now what I bring with what you have, and then we are going to embark on this project. Allyship is a dangerous word. And when people say, no, he's an ally. No, I don't want allies. I want persons who come together with me. That means when this task is done, we can also collaborate on other tasks because the work is never done. When Martin Luther King did the civil rights, soon after, he did the poor man march. So you realize the work was never done? It's never done. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know about y'all, but I actually really appreciated the story earlier about that guy Johnson. I feel like we absolutely need a whole lot more of that kind of stuff. Because you hear me at times when Josh say I say stuff like what kind of instruction, right? So when we as Stupi said, it says we detail all these things that potentially go wrong. It doesn't typically end off in, well, I suggest you just continue doing what you've been doing. You know what I'm saying? It more so kind of suggests that I've been bumping my head up against the wall trying to do it this one way. And maybe that's not the actual underlying message, but maybe the frequency of the tone of the conversation sort of alludes to that. It certainly doesn't. It certainly doesn't show where we can possibly do some of this stuff that we're talking about today. It really kind of paints this kind of picture as being distant and at times too distant to even consider a part of our reality.
Yo,
Mm.
did any of y'all watch that clip about Steps and Fetch that I put in at general chat?
I didn't catch it.
Oh man, I want y'all to watch that because I want to discuss
Yeah,
that
I watched it. I watched it in Anthony.
as a microcosm of kind of what's going on in America right now. And even in some of the discussions we have, because another thing they pointed out that his father was a Jamaican minstrel, his mother's Bahamian, and from his father learning the minstrelsism in America when he immigrated, that's where he got the team. And then he went in and he took one of the minstrel characters and first formed a duo group, and his other partner left. And then he kept both names because Stephen and Fetchy were supposed to be two characters in the duo. And he put them together and just played the dumb bumbling role. But at the time, the black people they saw that as a positive role, as the slave that outsmarted the master with his tomfoolery, so he didn't have to work. So he was doing this on purpose. So the people that come just after the generations of slavery looked at the character as positive. But then you have the rise of the new Negro. And all the people we talking about, the H. Randolph, and all of them started to see the character in a different way, in a different light. They put a different trope on it and said no. But at this time, Stephen was already the first millionaire, and he was a columnist. So behind the character was a real educated brother that was contributing, writing for black newspapers, all of this. But in the movement that was changing, he was losing and garnering respect, and now he's losing roles. The white people don't see a value in him. And then he has a son. The son becomes caught up in the Black Power movement and doesn't have an identity because he feels his father was a sellout and is presented as a coon, and doesn't have a true understanding of the history because he's been so radicalized to the point he loses his mind and ends up having a shootout on the fucking freeways in Jersey, kills a bunch of people. And I think like that thing right there that happened is to me, it says a lot about what happens to just people, especially when you get to his son and you see what happened to his son based on the vitriol that was produced of what his father did. But when his father was actually doing it, he had no concept of he was doing something negative. And in the context of his time, he was not doing something negative. It wasn't until later generations and the shift in society reflected, and it destroyed him, his whole emotions, attitude, the way he moved on set, his personality, his relationship with his son. It made his son go into a lack of an identity quest and not have a sense of being, to where he got filled with this thing I call the rhetoric of rage.
No, Stephen.
What's the name of that again? I went out.
And so it's crazy if you watch the little documentary. It's fascinating, and I think
let me add to that. Because Stephen and Fletcher had a mental issue from his wealth. What did he do with his wealth? At one time, it was reported that he had almost 63 cars. He went about buying cars because what happened to him mentally, he was aware. This is what we need to come about. People are aware of what they're doing when they're doing it. To appease his guilt, he squandered the money. To appease his guilt, he went out there. It's like a prostitute. She's always well dressed because she's appeasing her guilt that I am prostituting for a purpose. I am selling my soul to these black people because I'm an educated man. Because they say he was a columnist, so he was aware of this. But the money was so good. The money was too good. And what did he do with the money? He went around town in new cars every day, showing the world that, listen, I know why I'm doing this. I know why I'm a porn star, because the porn star gives me the ability to look good, to drive the car. I know why I go to these white parties, because I have a diamond chain on. He was no different. He was going through mental issues. He was trying to justify his behavior, and that's why he bought a lot of bullshit, and he died broke. This dude had 63 cars, driving around jewelry, new suits, was not allowed in those areas that he thought that he should be allowed into. So he went around parading like a peacock in black society. We need to look at him, and when you look at his action, you ask yourself, why would a man with all this money just be squandering the money? Because he knew that he was cooning, and it didn't sit well with his soul. That's my 2 cents.
I can agree with you if you want to see that, but that wasn't my point. My point was, if you look at what happened, and I'm just trying to explain to you, if you watch and you understand, in his time when he was doing that, he inspired a lot of other black people to want to join the upper class, join entertainment, do certain things to get them out. And that's one of the reasons he said he was doing that. He said he was trying to compete with the same thing the White Stars was doing at the time, and to show black people it was possible. And he was financing the newspaper. He was providing other things and also spending his money in the community. But you can say what you want. But what I'm saying is just what happened to him and the different aspects of his life and the mental, and then his son. I think his son is the most important part. And that question of identity, that lack of association with his fathership, the feeling of all that burden placed on him as his father being a coon, him being so radicalized and not having a way to process this information. And it speaks to the way I think we look at some of the things in history around this rhetoric of rage, and we leave, in my opinion, we leave the youth in that situation as his youth, where they're just full of rage and they really have no way to build the coalition, because they go to these places and America's failing, is worthless, and the society never cared about you, and you're not part of the Constitution, and everything you ever did they took from you, and other races advanced off of. Why the fuck are you going to do anything?
No, but you're being you understand where you're coming from. But stepping and fletching, recognize and realize that all he did on the screen for white people, for white audiences, because they were the ones that were paying him, it did not open any doors for him. It did not open those white doors. I think I read somewhere he was still relegated into the black communities, right? And he recognized that. We cannot justify his behavior because he himself recognized that if we should ask him now, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Because at the end of the life, he died broke. Was it worth it that you went and you became a clown? There was a movie with Denzel Washington, this army movie, and the black sergeant told a story of when the soldiers went to France, and the white soldiers paid a black soldier to dress up like a monkey and dance on the table in front of the French women. And at the end of the night, the black platoon, when they saw it, at the end of the night, when that black soldier who dressed up like a monkey was going home, the black soldiers killed him. They killed him. No.
See,
But the reason. No, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish, please. Because I come in the middle of the story. Let me finish. What I'm saying to you is that there was no new Negro. The Negroes that found that behavior unnecessary always existed. But sometimes the voice was silent. The Negro that know that the house Negro was dancing a jig, those field Negro always existed. Do not classify them as new Negroes. They have always existed. They have always seen Negro who willing to sell out how the people are viewed as for profit as a problem. There's no new Negro. These Negroes always existed.
Yeah, stupid piece. Now you talking emotional, which I understand. I'm not talking emotional, man. I'm talking historical. There was a period where Alain Locke put out what is called the New Negro, and it was about how you present yourself, how you organize. The intellectual is part of the talented think thing. It's part of all of this presentation, this wearing suit and your Sunday best, and the image of being upright and articulate and not this cooning character. That's part of the new Negro concept. That is a literal concept that was pushed and written about, publicized, promoted in Negro newspapers. And that's not me making up the concept of a new Negro. No. I'm talking about historic phenomena. Now, prior to that, Stephen Fetch's character was not despised. It was not looked at as a coon in character. It was not. And it's just impossible for you to see it that. Because you come after the new Negro concept. No, man.
No, I'm talking about.
Black people responded to the character in a different manner than what you're talking about. Now, after the new Negro concept comes out, they don't want these images. They don't want the Mahdi. They don't want these things. But white Hollywood is like, no, I'm still pushing this because there's a population of people and then we got this other agenda that we're going to do. But black people are fighting against this. Ask them the shades. You got all of these other people. Sure, you got these people making up their own filming company to counteract all of these other images because the concept of the new Negro is here. You got the rise of the boule, the talented 10. You got all of these things going on around this concept of the new Negro in which Stephen Fetchit's character no longer is valued and fit. So it's
who was the black man around Abraham Lincoln?
Yo, Stu, I'll let you speak, man. You know me finish.
Yes.
Me gone short. So, when Stephen Fetchit start get denigrated, now psychologically a problem will come. It's almost like any star. You star, you famous, you think you bling in this and that. Now you're out of favor and you're out of the ethos. You're not valuable. You no matter. So now you got a psychological problem. Okay, of course, that's recognizable. Society moves on though. Civil rights, all of this go on. You don't have no value. You're not getting the work. You have an attitude. There's no reason to put you in the film except for some type of cameo and this and that for the old people, then some here and there. Whatever. But your son now is born. You understand? That's the part I'm getting at. I'm looking at this whole life as an example in America. You understand? I'm not trying to justify and defend Stephen Fetchit.
Yeah, but you're repeating it. You said that earlier. You said
that happens because of this whole misunderstanding even of his father's identity and the different stages of his father and just summing his father up the way you want to sum him up.
All right, can I speak now? Can I speak now? Can I speak now? Because you're repeating it. Stephen and Fletching was a coon. We have to first acknowledge that. Was he a coon?
No.
Was Stephen and... All right, then we disagree on that. Let's go back to Stephen and Fletching. Let's go back to Abraham Lincoln. What was the name of the black man with Abraham Lincoln? The one who was speaking on behalf of the Negro. What was his name again? I can't remember his name. Frederick Douglass. Are you saying Frederick Douglass wasn't, as how you define it, a new Negro? That the Negro that is the new Negro existed long before? Because the Negro that if we should define Frederick Douglass, we must define him as a new Negro. But he existed before the terminology new Negro actually came about. True or false?
Of course that's true. I never
right. So therefore, the concept of new Negro, although it didn't have a name or a classification as new Negroes, Negroes were acting with a level of decorum long before that terminology exists. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So there's no new Negro then. If you agree, let me finish.
Hold up. Because now you're arguing a point.
I'm not arguing.
You argue with me, man. You argue that point with Alain Locke.
No, I'm not arguing. Locke argument is weak. Because what? No, let me finish.
Batiman too. I don't know if that's here or there.
No. All right, let me finish. Let me finish my point before you move on. Let me finish my point before you move on. Let me finish my point, please. No, let me. All right, okay. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Argue with me.
I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you. So let me finish my point. The point that Negroes conducted themselves with a level of decorum when given the opportunity has always existed before the terminology or the classification of them as a new Negro. The stepping and fletching character. If you watch the movie Birth of a Nation, although white people at that time depicted Negroes, that's the depiction of Negroes that they wanted to see. If you watch Birth of a Nation and look how the Negro was depicted in that film, you'll recognize that when they brought it onto the screen, they still brought that savage, but now he's hilarious and now he's being a buffoon. Now, many persons who wanted to get into acting had to play that part to get that money. There's no new Negro.
Stupid, you're wrong, man. You're wrong, but
The first, have you ever watched Birth of a Nation? The black and white film. Have you ever watched Birth of a Nation?
You're wrong this right now.
No. Have you ever watched Birth of a Nation, the black and white film?
Yes, man. I studied cinematography.
Okay. How was the white people acting who portrayed the Negro?
What? They was not acting like the Stephen Fetchings.
No, how were they acting? How were they acting?
Buffoon soldiers.
They were acting. They were acting like what? Buffoon soldiers. How was Stephen and Fletcher acting? He was acting like a buffoon. Was Stephen and Fletcher acting as a buffoon?
All right, man.
No. You quick. No. No, I want to do this because guess what?
Hold on, let me show you.
No. Answer my question. Let's go back to the original question. How were this? No, listen.
Listen, man.
All right. No. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Buffoon army.
All right. So the black soldiers were acting as a buffoon army.
Hey, let me remind y'all. Hold up.
If you have a buffoon,
let me remind y'all we live, yo. Can y'all take
turn?
turn?
Buffoonery to out trick the white man, so you don't have to do work. That's a whole different scenario. You can't compare the two projections of the buffoonery. What are you talking about? This is once again black people taking something and using it in a way which white people don't understand.
All right, let's.
This is why I come in here every day. I come in here every day to hear two P's and Anathema go at it. Y'all are my two favorite guys to argue. Just to let y'all know that. Right?
All right, Corey.
I love listening to y'all argue.
All right, Corey. let me ask you a question. Are you aware of the African trickster god Anansi? Are you aware of Anansi?
No, I'm not aware of him.
Burr Rabbit and Anansi is the same character. Are you aware of Burr Rabbit or Anansi?
If you know a Brer Rabbit, that's the same as Anansi.
I just said that. Burr Rabbit and Anansi.
Again, what
Red Rabbit and the Tar Baby cartoon?
Yeah, yes, but don't look at it as the Tar Baby cartoon. It's more to Burr Rabbit than that. Burr Rabbit is an African trickster god. Anansi is an African trickster god. Right? No, people would say, I am going to ask him a question. Have you ever thought about a buffoon when you think about Burr Rabbit or Anansi? And the answer is no. You have never thought of them as a buffoon. But when white people think of you as a buffoon, you now copulate to that and act as a buffoon to get your own way. But Burr Rabbit, who trick everybody, and Anansi, who trick everybody to get his own way, could never ever, the word buffoon could never ever be said in those African god present. So when you're using that to try to justify Stepping and Fletching, who understood what he was doing, he was denigrating his own people for the amusement of white people. And that's, if you ask Cedric, no, Sheffrin is going, that is what Sheffrin don't like. That's why he doesn't watch slave shows. That's why he doesn't watch drug shows. Because you're denigrating yourself for the amusement of other people. And that's what made him a coon.
No, because like I keep telling you, man, black folk use the buffoonery in a way you not understanding. Even black people looked at Stephen Fetchit sometimes in the context of an Anansi or a Brer Rabbit or a Chista character. He was tricking.
That's a lie. Stop lying. That's a lie. No black person ever look on. That's a lie. What a piece of disrespect to African gods. And you call yourself an African. That's a lie. No black people ever look at stepping and fletching like an answer. Stop lying.
No. Yeah, you wrong, B. I just gonna tell you, I don't even want to argue with you because you start raising blood pressure. But I'm not lying. That's why the character is popular, because black people responded to the minstrel tradition too, you know. And they had subtleties. They knew how to use it. They knew how to take advantage of the power structure that was imposed on them the same way black people do now. And they responded to certain characterizations. And I told you that there was a different class of black people that came after slavery and were part of the minstrel tradition, and they responded to certain things that was going on in characterization. Some of them even knew that Stephen Fetching used to be a dual act, and he put the two names together. And they wanted to see the talent of how he was going to be a single act. That was part of the billing of him. Him moving from dual into single act, and then taking the buffoonery character and making that character be able to hold center stage. And there was black people that responded to that, but then you had this whole concept of the new Negro come to where black people didn't start to see something different. And they start looking at them different and not understanding, like you not understanding. And then that lack of understanding and respect caused him to have this psychological problem and all of these things that went on in our team life. That's all me I say.
Are you aware? Can I ask you this question?
As some representative.
No, you don't. I'm not saying what.
No, you're taking your one little mind and your personal attitude towards as a historical.
Are you saying? Let me ask you another question. Are you saying that black performers back in the day performed the same in front of white audience as they did in front of black audiences? Are you saying that? Are you saying that black minstrel act in the day performed the same in front of white audience as they did in front of black audiences?
I have no idea.
That means that you can't speak on the matter then because you don't know the history. No, they didn't. They didn't. Because you just could. That means you're not being truthful then. That means you're not being truthful. Let me ask you the question again. Let me ask you the question a third time. Are you saying that black minstrel acts perform the same in front of white audience as they did when they perform on the chitlin circuit in front of black audiences? I'm asking you that question.
Why?
No, answer that question. Are you saying no? Yes or no? Because you know the history. You just told me that you know the history. You just told me you know the history. Are you saying? You're saying no. What is the answer?
When you go from